Welcome to the Detective Storyteller, your ultimate destination for thrilling tales of mystery, deception, and intrigue. From cunning detectives to masterful spies, each story will keep you guessing until the very end. Like, share, and subscribe to join our growing community of mystery enthusiasts. Now, let's unravel today's case. The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle was well received by readers and critics alike. The inclusion of holiday elements and the lighter tone offered a refreshing contrast to some of the darker Holmes tales. It showcased Holmes's brilliant deductive skills, while also highlighting his compassion and understanding of human nature. The story remains a beloved part of the Sherlock Holmes canon, celebrated for its engaging plot, festive setting, and memorable characters. It continues to be enjoyed by readers and audiences worldwide, maintaining its charm and appeal through various adaptations and retellings. In The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle, Holmes and Watson find themselves embroiled in a mystery involving a lost hat and a Christmas goose. The discovery of a priceless gem inside the goose sets off a chain of events that leads them through London's bustling streets during the holiday season. Their investigation uncovers unexpected connections and reveals the true thief in a surprising and compassionate twist. Let the mystery begin. The story begins on a frosty December morning in London. The city, dressed in its winter finery, was alive with the hustle and bustle of holiday preparations. Shoppers crowded the streets, their breath visible in the crisp, cold air, as they hurried from one store to another, arms laden with parcels and gifts. The scent of roasted chestnuts wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of carolers and the occasional jingle of sleigh bells. It was a time of festivity and cheer, and the city seemed to sparkle with a sense of magic and anticipation. At 221 B. Baker Street, Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson were enjoying a rare moment of respite from their usual cases. The cozy sitting room, with its cluttered bookshelves and warm, flickering fireplace, was a haven from the cold outside. Holmes, ever the enigmatic figure, was seated in his favorite armchair, a worn-out hat in his hands. His sharp, hawk-like features were illuminated by the glow of the fire, and his piercing blue eyes were filled with a mixture of curiosity and amusement. Dr. Watson, ever the faithful chronicler of their adventures, entered the room to find his friend engrossed in examining the hat. Watson, a distinguished man in his 40s with a kind face and steady demeanor, was dressed in a well-tailored suit, his mustache neatly trimmed. He was a man of reason and compassion, whose loyalty to Holmes was unwavering. "Good morning, Holmes," Watson greeted, a hint of curiosity in his voice. "I see you have found something of interest." Holmes looked up, a twinkle of excitement in his eyes. "Ah, Watson, just the man I wanted to see. Come, take a look at this hat. It may appear trivial, but I assure you, it holds a fascinating story." Watson approached, taking the hat from Holmes's hands. It was a battered and discolored felt hat, adorned with a faded red ribbon. The hat had clearly seen better days, but Watson knew better than to dismiss it as insignificant. "Well, Holmes," Watson said thoughtfully, "it appears to be well worn and of decent quality, though it has seen better days." "Precisely," Holmes replied, his voice brimming with enthusiasm. "But there is much more to learn. Consider the dust, the wear, and the ribbon. What do they tell you about the owner?" Holmes's ability to see what others overlooked was nothing short of extraordinary. He began to elaborate on his deductions, revealing that the hat's owner was a middle-aged man, recently fallen on hard times, and likely a former professional. His insights were both impressive and entertaining, demonstrating his unparalleled skill in the art of deduction. The analysis of the hat. The hat in question was a battered and discolored felt hat, adorned with a faded red ribbon. It had seen better days, with patches of wear and tear that spoke of years of use. The faded ribbon, once vibrant, now hung limply, adding to the hat's forlorn appearance. Holmes, ever the meticulous observer, held the hat in his hands, his keen eyes dancing with amusement as he scrutinized every detail. Holmes himself was dressed in a casual yet elegant manner, a dark green smoking jacket draped over his lean frame. His deerstalker hat, a signature accessory, rested on a nearby chair. The room was filled with the warmth of the fireplace, casting a soft, flickering glow that accentuated the shadows and added to the cozy yet mysterious atmosphere of 221B Baker Street. "Watson, my dear fellow," Holmes began, his voice tinged with excitement, "observe this hat and tell me what you can deduce from it." Dr. John Watson, ever the faithful companion, took the hat from Holmes and examined it with curiosity. Watson was a man of steady demeanour, his kind face framed by a neatly trimmed moustache. He wore a well-tailored suit, his appearance always immaculate. Though accustomed to Holmes's challenges, he approached each one with a sense of earnestness and a desire to learn. It appears to be well worn and of decent quality, though it has seen better days, Watson remarked, thoughtfully. "Precisely," Holmes replied, his eyes twinkling with amusement. "But there is much more to learn. Consider the dust, the wear, and the ribbon. What do they tell you about the owner?" Holmes's ability to see beyond the obvious was nothing short of extraordinary. He began to elaborate on his deductions, his mind working with the precision of a finely tuned instrument. "The dust, Watson, is of a peculiar greyish hue, suggesting that it comes from an environment filled with coal ash. The wear on the brim indicates frequent handling, perhaps a nervous habit. The ribbon, once vibrant, now faded, suggests a man who once took pride in his appearance, but has since fallen on hard times." Watson listened intently, his admiration for Holmes's brilliance growing with each revelation. "So, the owner is likely a middle-aged man, recently fallen on hard times, and perhaps a former professional." "Indeed," Holmes confirmed. "The hat is of decent quality, indicating that it was once owned by someone of means. However, the current state of disrepair suggests a decline in fortune. The man is likely a former professional who has encountered recent misfortunes." Holmes's deductions were both impressive and entertaining, a testament to his unparalleled skill in the art of observation and deduction. But the case was far from over, and Holmes's mind was already working on the next steps. Their conversation was interrupted by a knock on the door, followed by the entrance of Peterson, a burly and honest commissionaire. Peterson's uniform was neatly pressed, and his face bore an expression of urgency and agitation. In his hands, he held a large goose, its feathers ruffled from recent handling. "Mr. Holmes, Dr. Watson," Peterson began, his voice trembling slightly. "You won't believe what my wife found inside this goose." Holmes's eyes widened with intrigue. "Do tell, Peterson. What remarkable discovery has been made?" Peterson set the goose on the table and carefully reached into its feathers, revealing a glittering gemstone nestled within. The stone, a dazzling blue carbuncle, sparkled with an otherworldly brilliance. "The Blue Carbuncle," Holmes exclaimed, his voice filled with wonder. "A gem of great value and notoriety, the very same that was stolen from the Countess of Morcar." Watson's astonishment mirrored that of Holmes. The seemingly mundane case of the hat and the goose had just taken a dramatic and unexpected turn. The stage was set for a captivating investigation, and Holmes's keen mind was already at work, unraveling the mystery that lay before them. Holmes's thoughts raced as he considered the implications. The discovery of the blue carbuncle inside the goose suggested a series of events that needed to be traced and understood. He turned to Peterson, his voice calm and commanding. "Peterson, tell us everything you know about this goose. Where did it come from?" Peterson explained that he had found the hat and goose abandoned after a scuffle in the street. He had brought them home, intending to cook the goose for Christmas, but his wife's discovery had led him to seek Holmes's expertise. "Very well," Holmes said, his mind already forming a plan. "We must trace the origin of this goose. It is the key to unraveling this mystery." Holmes and Watson prepared to embark on their investigation, their minds sharp and their resolve unwavering. The streets of London awaited, filled with clues and secrets that only the brilliant mind of Sherlock Holmes could uncover. Watson's eyes widened in astonishment. The seemingly mundane case of the hat and the goose had just taken a dramatic and unexpected turn. The discovery of the priceless gem set the stage for a captivating investigation, and Holmes's mind was already racing with possibilities. Holmes turned to Peterson, his expression serious. "Peterson, we must trace the origin of this goose. It is the key to unraveling this mystery. Where did you come across this bird?" Peterson recounted the events of the previous night, describing how he had found the hat and the goose abandoned after a scuffle in the street. He had brought them home, intending to cook the goose for Christmas, but his wife's discovery had led him to seek Holmes's expertise. "Very well," Holmes said, his voice tinged with determination. "Watson, we must visit the boarding house where the hat's owner resides. It is the first step in our investigation." Holmes and Watson set out into the bustling streets of London, the city's festive cheer contrasting with the gravity of their mission. They arrived at a modest boarding house where they were greeted by Mrs. Henry Baker, a middle-aged woman with a kindly face and a warm smile. She was dressed in simple yet neat attire, her apron showing signs of recent work in the kitchen. "Good day, Mrs. Baker," Holmes greeted, his tone polite yet authoritative. "We are here to inquire about a hat and a goose that were recently lost. Might you have any information regarding their owner?" Mrs. Baker's eyes lit up with recognition. "Ah, yes, the hat and the goose belong to my husband Henry. He's a kind man, but times have been hard for us recently." Holmes nodded, his keen mind absorbing every detail. "May we speak with Mr. Baker?" Mrs. Baker led them to a small, cosy sitting room where Henry Baker sat reading a newspaper. He was a man in his 50s with greying hair and a gentle demeanour. He wore a simple woolen coat, and his eyes reflected a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "Mr. Baker," Holmes began, "we have come across your hat and goose, and we seek to understand how they came into your possession." Henry Baker's face softened with relief. "Ah, thank you for finding them. The goose was a gift from a friend, and I lost it in a scuffle on the street. I feared it was gone forever." Holmes's sharp gaze met Watson's, a silent understanding passing between them. The next step in their investigation was to trace the origin of the goose. Holmes turned to Mr. Baker with a thoughtful expression. "Mr. Baker, could you tell us where your friend acquired the goose?" Henry Baker nodded. "He purchased it from a poultry dealer named Mr. Breckenridge, who has a stall at the Covent Garden Market." Holmes and Watson made their way to Covent Garden Market, the air filled with the bustling activity of vendors and shoppers. The market was a lively and colourful place, with stalls selling everything from fresh produce to seasonal decorations. The cacophony of voices and the scent of spices added to the vibrant atmosphere. They approached Mr. Breckenridge's stall, where the poultry dealer was busy attending to customers. Mr. Breckenridge was a burly man with a brusque demeanour, his hands calloused from years of hard work. He wore a thick woolen coat and a cap pulled low over his eyes. "Good day, Mr. Breckenridge," Holmes greeted, his tone courteous yet firm. "We are here to inquire about a goose that was recently purchased from your stall. It is of great importance that we trace its origin." Mr. Breckenridge's eyes narrowed with suspicion. "What business is it of yours?" "I sell many geese, and I cannot be expected to remember each one." Holmes's resolve only grew stronger in the face of resistance. "This particular goose is of significant interest due to its unique contents. It is imperative that we identify its source." Mr. Breckenridge's reluctance was evident, but Holmes's persistence and ingenuity eventually wore him down. After some persuasion, Mr. Breckenridge revealed that the goose had come from a supplier named James Ryder, who worked at a nearby hotel. Holmes and Watson proceeded to the hotel where James Ryder worked. The establishment was a grand and opulent building, its polished marble floors and ornate chandeliers reflecting the wealth and luxury of its patrons. They were directed to Ryder's quarters, a small and modest room tucked away from the main areas of the hotel. James Ryder was a nervous and guilt-ridden man, his hands trembling as he met Holmes and Watson. He was dressed in a simple uniform, his face pale and drawn with worry. Holmes's piercing gaze seemed to penetrate Ryder's very soul, and the man's unease was palpable. "Mr. Ryder," Holmes began, his voice calm and authoritative, "we have come to inquire about a certain goose that you supplied to Mr. Breckenridge. It contained an item of great value, the Blue Carbuncle, which was stolen from the Countess of Morcar." Ryder's face turned ashen, and he stammered, I don't know what you're talking about." Holmes's expression remained impassive, but his eyes bore into Ryder with unwavering intensity. "The time for pretense is over, Mr. Ryder. The truth will come to light, and it is in your best interest to cooperate." Under Holmes's probing questions, Ryder's defenses crumbled. He confessed to the theft of the Blue Carbuncle, revealing the complexity of his character and the desperation that had driven him to commit the crime. His confession was both dramatic and heartfelt, his guilt and remorse evident. In the story's conclusion, Holmes's decision to release Ryder underscored his nuanced understanding of human nature. Holmes's compassion and wisdom shone through as he explained his reasoning to Watson. "Ryder's fear and remorse are punishment enough," Holmes remarked, his voice thoughtful. "To send him to prison would achieve nothing. Let him live with the knowledge of his actions and the opportunity to reform." Watson, ever the moral compass, agreed with Holmes's judgment, reflecting on the deeper lessons of justice and mercy that the case imparted. "You are right, Holmes. Sometimes true justice lies in understanding and compassion, rather than strict punishment." As they left the hotel, the festive atmosphere of the city seemed to envelop them once more. The case of the Blue Carbuncle had been resolved, and Holmes and Watson could once again enjoy the warmth and camaraderie of their friendship. Thank you for watching. If this story kept you on the edge of your seat, hit the like button and share it with fellow mystery lovers. Subscribe to The Detective Storyteller for more gripping tales, and turn on notifications so you never miss a clue. Check out another thrilling mystery right here. Until next time, keep your magnifying glass handy and your curiosity alive.